Hello everyone, welcome to Doom Productions. Here we make feature films and videos about film and filmmaking. Earlier this year, we released a feature film called The Bell Rings. It's available on our YouTube channel to watch right now for free, so if you want to check it out, feel free to do so. There should be a tag that you can go click on. And in this movie, it's set during the Great Depression. And so part of making this movie is we wanted to make it look like it came from that era, or at least as close as we could get to that kind of look. So the movie is shot digitally, but we did a lot of effects, film effects, to make it get that aged film look. So in this video today, I want to walk you through the steps that we went through in order to get that look. And it should be something that's fairly simple for you guys to do if you want to use the same effect for your own films. So I'm just going to dive in here, talk a little bit about the pre-production side and what it was like on set shooting, and then after that I'll go into the video effects and what we did in post-production. So on set, what we shot on was a Canon EOS R, and primarily we used vintage photography lenses. So we used lenses that were actually pretty low quality. We didn't use any film photography lenses that I thought were nice or high quality. And what I mean by low quality is that the lenses themselves, like the glass elements, weren't particularly good. There's chromatic aberration, they're just not very soft. The edges get really, really soft and out of focus, even if the middle is really sharp. So that kind of quality isn't necessarily what someone would call quote unquote nice. But in the case of The Bell Rings, it was exactly what I wanted. I wanted an image that was going to be a bit dirtier, a little bit less clean, a little less nice, because in the era this would have been shot in, they probably wouldn't have access to modern high quality glass. So that's what I wanted to use, and so that's what we ended up doing. So they're all manual focus, manual aperture, and we just adapted them onto our camera. So I just had a couple of those that I used, and then on top of that I used a haze filter. You can find ones like the Black Pro Mist filters, like what I used, but there are other options out there as well. So those stacked on top of each other left a pretty soft image, and then from there, when bringing it into editing, we had a really, really nice start. And then from there, I'll pop into Premiere and we can go through the rest of the breakdown. So I'm gonna switch over to my MacBook here. So here I have the timeline for the movie. It's kind of a mess, but when I edited the movie, it was all done with just a black and white adjustment layer added. So if you can see here, I'm just turning it on and off. Not a whole lot going on. And that's because just to keep editing simple, I decided that instead of exporting the whole movie with all the effects, I wanted to instead export a clean version. So this is pretty much my clean black and white edit, where there's no grain, no extra effects to kind of dirty it up. It's the clean edit. So from there, what I did was I re-exported in the film, and what I'll do here, just to set up a brand new slate, I would bring in just a new sequence and import my movie footage. So let's actually go back here. I'm just gonna steal real quick one of these adjustment layers, because why not? So let's just drop one of these adjustment layers in, and you can see here, if I go into my effect controls, what I have on this, it's just an adjustment layer, and I have pretty much just a standard black and white color preset built into Premiere. I think I use like the X Pro or X Pan, something like that, black and white setting near the bottom of their preset list, just like super, super basic. And then from there, I would just tweak my footage accordingly. And then from there, what I would do, here, let's go back to my rushes here. So I would bring in my footage, and just from there alone, log footage, throw on this adjustment layer. It looks great. It looks super nice. That's one of the best parts of black and white, is it just doesn't look bad. Black and white ages super well. So we have this shot here, and now what's the next step? Where do we go from here? So what I did, and what I thought was effective, was, again, I would export this out as its own thing, as the whole movie, bring it back into Premiere, and then I have this 16 millimeter film grain. And what I would do is I would just take this onto my shot, and this is one that I just found from some website online that had a free pack. You can find tons of these out there. There's no shortage of film grain for you to find online. So buy that from wherever you want. But then from there, you just get your blending modes, go to overlay, turn that on, And it's not super crazy, but there is, let's just punch in a little bit. If we go over here and look at our actors, there's Bellamy and Jordan. If we toggle this on and off, there is a slight bit of grain that comes in. But what I actually ended up doing was I copy and pasted this. So I copied this. And here, let's just add a whole extra. We're gonna add 2 tracks because of some other stuff that's gonna happen here. So I just copy and pasted this and doubled it up. So, obviously no grain, doesn't do much. 1 grain does a little. I felt like 2 was the sweet spot for this movie. You could, if you wanted, throw on a 3rd and keep going and going and going until you got the amount of grain that you want. I felt like 2 was enough, but maybe for yours you want 3. So this looks pretty great. This is already here. Let's just zoom back out. This is a nice shot. This looks great, but I want to go further. This is top secret. So use this effect I'm about to show you with discretion. Just kidding. But this is something that Jordan discovered. This is an effect that we're coining as our own. You may have found this elsewhere, but as far as we know, we're the ones doing it. So what I'm going to do here is just move all these up, because what we're going to do here is I've selected this, I've unlinked it from its audio, and I'm going to duplicate the footage that I have on the timeline. So this actual shot here, I'm going to duplicate it because I'm going to apply here. I'm going to pop into my my effects window here. I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur. So just going to bring that over here, and I'm going to also drop the opacity of the top layer. So I've applied the Gaussian blur to the bottom piece of footage, and I'm going to drop the opacity of the top one to around 70%. Let's just go for exactly 70. So at 70%, you can't see it now because I haven't done anything, but once you do that, go to your Gaussian blur on that bottom one and start cranking it up a little bit. And if you see, if I go really heavy, it starts to really go crazy. But if you settle right around 20, all of a sudden it goes from this kind of plain image. I mean, obviously it's a little dark, but it gives it this softness, this glow that is really, really unique. And I don't see a lot of people doing this, but even on color footage, not just black and white, it adds this really cool, milky dreaminess to your footage. So it's something that we found to be super effective. It's kind of the secret sauce that makes the shots, I think, go from a 7 to a 10 for me. So this shot here wasn't used in the film. This was a deleted scene, so you don't get to see this one. I think I'm actually export this because it's a really pretty shot. I should have used it. Here, I'm gonna export it right now. Boom. So yeah, this is how I did the film effects for The Bell Rings. It's simple. I like to keep my editing simple. I don't like to go too crazy with it. I'm starting to learn DaVinci Resolve here, so hopefully that will kind of be the next progression in terms of making our own LUTs, but just use the preset ones. They're pretty good. But yeah, if you have questions about anything else with this process or what we did for The Bell Rings to get it to look the way we did, reach out, leave a comment down below. I hope this was helpful for you if you're trying to get some old film looks for your films. And yeah, subscribe if you want more cool behind the scenes content for filmmaking. If you want additional exclusive content, check out our Patreon. We try and post there fairly often, at least a couple times a month to give you guys some extra behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. So subscribe and we'll see you in the next video.